Alright, I'm here, guys. Hi! I'm sorry for taking a while. I'm hearing myself echo. 1 second. I'm hearing myself echo. 1 second. There you go. I fixed it. There we go. Alright, so I apologize for taking some time. What was I doing? Sorry, and my glasses are super reflective. So I was trying to check everything, and I am very nervous. Of like, I was very excited for this stream, and I want to thank you guys for coming out. I see 4 people are here. I see Susie. I see Daybreak. Hello. I'm not sure if I know who Daybreak is. I apologize. And of all the things to happen right now, gosh, like, come on, YouTube. I was just playing lovely lo-fi music, and then all of a sudden it just stops on me. That's wonderful. Oh, Miran, it's you! Ah! I see you guys. Okay. So, Miran and Susie, my lovely Korean friends. I'm happy you guys are here. Thank you for making time and seeing me here. I don't understand why my internet's acting weird now. Okay, there we go. Maybe it's just too much RAM going on or something. I don't know. But it's acting weird. That is very strange. So why I took so long was because I had to double check the presentation, and it looks like the presentation is broken. So I won't be able to split or control it, so you just have to see my entire screen, which is unprofessional, in my opinion, but it's doable. Alright, so I want to say hi guys and welcome. You made me join Twitch to watch your stream. I mean, Miran, like, you announced it, so thank you so much for posting about me. I see in the chat. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, but I love you. 사랑해. But yeah, it's been a long time. I actually really miss live stream teaching, and I'm glad that I'm taking my first big step on Twitch to do it. So fingers crossed, things work out for me. But anyways, let's just go ahead and jump straight to that presentation. I hope it works. It's just acting really weird. I don't understand why it's doing that. Let me see. Yeah, I'll just do it this way. And hopefully it works. Because normally I would choose the presenter view, but it did it again. I don't understand why it's just doing that out of the blue right now. Talk about bad timing. Okay, let me see if I can just reset this for a second, and then I will try again. Let me drag this over here. Okie dokie. But before we start, I do want to spend some time talking to you ladies. So, Miran, how have you been? I have not seen you in years, I would say. It's been several months. I know that you got yourself a new job, so congratulations on that. How has life been? You're having lunch while watching my stream. Thank you so much. I'm really touched that you're making time just watching my stream while you're eating. And then, Susie, how are you? How's your day? Oh, sorry, my presentation. I don't know why it's doing that. I will attempt something with the presentation. So let me see. And feel free to respond in the chat, Susie and Miran, because I will eventually read it. It's just really strange why my presentation is acting very weird of all days to happen to. I even just double-checked everything was fine. Let's see if this works. Let's see. I hope it's working. Sorry again for the problems. It's kind of expected though. Anytime I do live stream, I'm always expecting something goes wrong. I'm having moments where I'm reminiscing the times when I worked at that other job that had a lot of like issues when I was streaming as well. But I guess starting from scratch with Twitch has been very difficult, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't know if I can make the screen any bigger, but I will try my best to make the screen big. But yeah, it looks like Canva has refused working with me today. Susie says, yes, I am good today. I am in a library now. Don't make me too funny because I have to be quiet. So if I make Susie laugh, she'll be kicked out of the library. Oh dear. And then Miran says, everything is unpredictable when we are trying to do something creative. No worries. Aw, thank you so much for being patient. Yes. Thank you. It has been quite a stressful journey here for me. But let us see. Okay, so this is my screen. I am just gonna leave it as it is. And if the music is too loud, let me know. I can just lower it. There we go. Alright, and then I will try my best to zoom on the screen. So it would have been really cool if I had a full screen going on, then you would see the animation that happens here. Basically, she would just like whiz through, but there's no magic, unfortunately. Okay, so for today's stream itinerary, I was supposed to introduce myself, then share a little bit about the stream expectations, stream activities, topic suggestions, Q&A, and Discord. But it's nice to have like only a few people here because that means we can talk about a lot of things. And I'm probably going to stream for probably less than 2 hours. I'm planning to teach for 2 hours every Monday and Wednesday. So maybe just twice a week, 4 hours at most, so I don't burn myself out. And I'm usually coming home from class, so that's why I start my streams at 7 o'clock on Monday. Initially it was 6 o'clock, but it's really hard for me to get home on time, so I decided to push it to 7. And then on Wednesday it's 6 to 8. Because I have an appointment with a student at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. So that's why I'm just like really close on time. That's why. Anyways, moving on. I'd like to introduce myself. So my name is Hannah. My background is I was born in the Philippines and I moved to the US when I was 4 years old. And I am considered a 1.5 generation. I wouldn't say, people would typically say 1.5 generation immigrant, but I'm technically an American, so 1.5 generation Filipina American. The 1.5 basically means that you are someone who was born in a different country, but you were brought up in a different country. So like you're in two places, right? So that's the idea of a 1.5 generation person. And my experience with that is that I was also a former ESL learner. And growing up in America was, I would say, it was a little bit confusing when I was young. I can hardly remember what I went through at the time, but I remember struggling with English, especially during class. So like, for example, asking to go use the bathroom, not knowing the word for bathroom in English. And I remember that my teacher was like, if I didn't know the word, I couldn't ask for it. So that one time where I said, oh, can I use the banyo? So I combined English with Tagalog. And because I said the word banyo, the teacher wouldn't let me go. So I just had to wait and just hold it in. And then during recess, I went to go use the bathroom. Yeah, fortunately, nothing happened. But I remember that was probably the most difficult time of my life in terms of my experience learning English. And fortunately, I graduated from becoming an ESL within, I believe, let's see, maybe 2 years, I think. I believe so. I stopped attending ESL lessons when I was in, I think, 4th grade. And then I took ESL from preschool up to 2nd grade. So that's that. Yeah, I've been an ESL student for, I think, 4 years, I guess. And then I was able to transition towards becoming a native English speaker. Right. So my current standing today is that I am a postgrad student. I'm finishing up my final semester for my master's program. So the field that I'm pursuing is linguistics. And sorry, those background sounds that you're hearing, that's just like my ice cube maker. So don't mind that. My room is literally a cafe for me. My emphasis is TESOL, so I am genuinely pursuing what I'm teaching and talking to you guys about. And then finally, for work, I do private teaching lessons currently. So let me see, how many students am I working with right now? I have one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, or actually 2 of them on Thursday because they're a group session. I have one student that I talk to once a month. And then there's one I see online as well, and this student is in high school. So I have a total of 5 students that I'm working with right now, and it's been very fun. I love talking to these students because, you know, I'm getting to know them, and even though I'm a teacher, these people are just like friends to me as well too. And of course, I've had the opportunity to befriend a lot of my students in the past, and a lot of them have graduated to becoming fluent English speakers to this day. So yeah, that's about it, I would say. Okay. Next, classroom experiences. Oh gosh, I am so glad that I've finally went over 5 years, right? So I started teaching in 2017, and my very first English teaching experience was in Indonesia. And at the time, I was not formally trained. I actually had no teaching experience whatsoever. I just finished my associate's degree in my community college. And then a friend of mine had encouraged me to move to Indonesia and try staying there for 6 months. And also, I apologize, I just realized the text might be really small for you guys. Yeah, so I was encouraged to go to Indonesia to try my experience in teaching English as a language over there, because I was going through a crisis, I would say. Because initially I was supposed to become a nurse. That was actually my first occupation and my experience in the professional field. I took a lot of nursing courses when I was in my junior year of high school because they had an after-school program for nursing. And when things didn't work out in that area, I was not sure what I was going to do with my life. So that's why I transitioned to becoming an English student, or majoring in English per se, and trying to figure out what I was going to do with that degree was very scary for me, because at the time I didn't know if I wanted to be a teacher. I wasn't sure. I remember my earliest experience in taking courses in my community college was finding out, I think I took a career class where I wanted to figure out my personality, what classes would work with my personality, etc. And I still remember to this day, one of the suggestions did say nursing, but another one did say teaching was an option. And I really thought about it from that moment. I thought, okay, I would love to be an author too. An author was also one of the occupations that was recommended in my career results as well. But I thought about it and I'm like, I don't know if I can be an author because it's hard. I have to commit to writing, and there are gonna be days where I just don't feel motivated, etc. And I just started to stress out. I was like having, I think I would say, a very early crisis in my life. I was just 18 at that time. And I remember feeling really unsure what to do with myself. I was afraid to make decisions because when you're 18 and you finally realize how big your decisions can impact your life, yeah, that was a very scary experience for me. And I still remember I had panic attacks when I was younger too. So yeah, it was terrifying. But I'm really glad I stuck through with what I pursued. So going back to the story about how I ended up in Indonesia, I met a friend online when I was in high school, and she and I had the same interest in writing about fan art and fan fiction about our favorite ships. And it was she who introduced me to the idea of teaching abroad. And I thought about it and I said, okay, well, I already took a lot of observation classes for teaching English in American schools, in high schools, in middle schools, and I've seen my teachers, the teachers that I grew up the teachers I had when I was in high school, just observing them now that I was a college student. I saw their expressions. They looked tired, they looked exhausted, and that kind of just told me that I didn't know if I wanted to pursue this route. Even though I love literature and I love analysis and having discussions about them, but the impression that I walked away with was this was not going to be a fun time in class, especially if you had to have a lot of energy while entertaining 5 classrooms. Because I don't know if it's the same in your guys' country for high school, but we have 6 periods. So one every, I think it was 90 minutes per class, so 6 classes. So I saw that my energy would probably die towards the end of the session. So that was basically the breaking point for me as a teacher, where I thought, I don't know if I want to be a teacher anymore. So thank goodness I followed my friend's advice. I saved up money during my community college. So I worked while I was studying. And then I saved enough money to move to Indonesia for 6 months. And I stayed there for the maximum capacity, which is 6 months, by the way. And I was able to provide for myself and also get a feel for if I wanted to be a teacher. So briefly, when I was there, I worked with university students right away. A lot of them were older than me. So that was very intimidating. I was, I think, 20 years old or 21 years old when I went there. And I had students who were 22, 25, 30. They were much older than me. And I really questioned my sense of worth in front of them because I was thinking, well, I'm 21. I was not formally trained. I do not deserve to be in front of the classroom right now and teaching them because I don't know what I'm talking about. I must be crazy. And I think that really hit me hard on really questioning if this was the right decision. But as time went on, I kind of took a lot of a huge observation on the students who were learning English from their homeroom teachers. And I realized that the students were very bored. I mean, then again, it reminded me of myself when I was learning grammar in class. I was very bored too. So I reflected deeply about my position. Like, why was I there? Why was I put into school? What could I offer them that that their homeroom teacher couldn't give them, you know? So that's where I kind of realized, oh, maybe instead of focusing on grammar and regurgitating extra practice to what the teacher says, why don't I focus on speech, like conversation, pronunciation? So I went down that route after, I think, 1 week of observation from the homeroom teachers and trying myself out on teaching grammar at the time. So joke's on me, I've become the grammar teacher now. But it was a very fun experimental moment for me because I introduced a lot of new ideas about how to learn English through gamified ways, right? So I introduced activities, I did tongue twisters, I helped the students find how to pronounce the words or the sounds with what they're supposed to do with their mouth, what they should feel when they're touching their face. Like, for example, American English has the I sound, so the short I. So we say I, but in most cases, I think in general, most Asian countries, they don't have that sound in their phonemic inventory, which is a fancy way of saying pronunciation, that we say E, so that's why. So Miriam says, we can't judge which is the right decision or not. With your decision you made along the journey, it will guide you where you're headed. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it was a huge leap of faith, Miriam. I definitely agree. That was scary. I was terrified. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm really glad I committed to it and trusted where I was going, because I just, after all, I was in Indonesia for 6 months, so I just had to enjoy the ride and make the best I can do in those moments. So I'm really glad that I stayed and I stuck my neck out. That's the expression. I stuck my neck out and committed, and here I am today. Yeah, so I suppose back to the story, I was mentioning I introduced a lot of new methodologies in teaching. And I realized I found my identity as a teacher very early on, and I noticed I'm the type of teacher that really focuses on the fun aspect and activities. I was very proactive in having students practice what they were learning in class, especially with whatever pronunciation lesson I was giving them. And I think that's where it all started. And then I remember my popularity at the time exploded. What shocked me at the time was I didn't know Indonesian people were comfortable exchanging information with their teachers, which was it was a huge culture shock for me, and a professional shock too, because in America, teachers should never exchange personal information with their students, such as their phone number or their social medias, etc. But over there, they were so comfortable. A lot of my students asked for my line, they asked for my Instagram, they asked about my Facebook, and I was kind of scared at first. And I remember talking to a homeroom teacher, and I was like, is this okay? Am I allowed to do that? And they told me, yeah, it's fine. And I was like, whoa, that's shocking, but cool. And yeah, that kind of opened my eyes to realize the importance of how I carry myself from now on the internet or on social media in general, because I know for a fact in the near future, or well, it already happened, I will be exchanging my social medias with my students from around the world. So I have to be very mindful of how I carry myself. So yeah. But yeah, that was actually pretty cool because it showed there was a lot of trust and rapport between the teacher and the student. So I found that very invaluable. And I feel like I understand why Americans don't do that, because there's just a lot of bad, inappropriate behavior that happens with that kind of exchange between a student and a teacher. So it's better to just not connect. That's how it is in America. But yeah, that just opened my eyes to realize that if I had the opportunity to interact with whoever I'm teaching, etc., then wouldn't it be cool that we would have that rapport with them? So perfect example are the students who are here with me, like Susie and Miran. I have the opportunity to, we share like a lot of things with each other, including social media, but they've already graduated from being my students at this point. But anyways, it's just really cool to just be working with my students who are also my friends. So I think that's super awesome in terms of my teaching experience. All right, so sorry to go off on that tangent. Let me see. Yes, okay. So I'm coming back to the fact that I've worked for over 5 years now. I think is it 6? I can't do math. It's 2017. Yeah, it's been a good 6 years since I started, and it's been great. I've been teaching and tutoring at the same time while I've been studying in my undergrad, in my postgrad, etc. It can be stressful at times because I would say I lack more experience in recognizing what methods I apply would result in a lot of workload for me. So I'm trying my best to just work around and understand and reflect on what activities worked, what activities can I commit to do, what activities requires less grading, etc. Because when it comes to a language classroom, receiving feedback is so important. I know this as a language learner myself, and I know that a lot of my students really appreciate that I give them a lot of feedback in helping them improve. So I try my best to find ways where I can meet us in the middle without overwhelming myself and them with lots of work. So thank you, by the way. Shout out to you, Miran and Susie. Sorry for making you guys go through a lot of work. But I mean, it worked though, right? I'd like to think. So in my 5 years, I've mentioned that I had the opportunity to teach abroad, which was Indonesia for 6 months in 2017. And I did go back in 2019 during the summer to work again. And I think that's about 9 months that I stayed abroad and taught abroad. And then in person, I've tutored in one-on-one sessions. I've also taught in classrooms, which was one of my most recent experiences. But I think in terms of majority of my experience comes down to online. Ever since, COVID happened, so a lot of my teaching experiences is flourishing through the online platform. So things like one-on-one online lessons, live streams. I love live streams, by the way, which is why I'm back here. Group lessons online has been great too. There's also commute. The word commute means to travel. Basically, there was a job that I did do for freelance, and this company had me meet my students in public areas. So I would meet them at Starbucks, I would meet them at the park. Sometimes my students and I decided that we would meet in my backyard. So we would study together. So somewhere that was public and safe for both of us. And then freelancing, I would say I'm currently freelancing with my tutor jobs right now because it's just all over the place. I have all 5 of my students, they're all from different platforms. So yeah, I would say I'm currently freelancing at the moment. And of course, I would say in terms of my teaching style, I'm very attentive to what my students need and what they're looking for improvement. I'm I'm very attentive to what their interests are. I would say, based on my personal experience, I like to learn when it's fun. That's kind of how it works for me. If I find something that's interesting, that's fun, I am more willing to engage and be more proactive in class for it. Miran said, I would like to study in your backyard. Yes. I mean, one day, come to America. We'll have a party and we'll study together. We'll definitely do that. So I would say, going back to the lesson plans, I am someone who's very attentive to my students' interest because I don't want to give them homework where it's, a waste of time. And I would say from my personal experience, if I'm also given a teacher that doesn't care about my needs, my interests, etc., I don't really feel like my time is being valued well. Sorry, my rabbit just opened the door. Hi, Jack. Anyways, yeah, so going back, I pay attention to what my students are interested in because I want them to have a great experience learning English. Because after all, language learning is a journey in the end. So I want to make it memorable. I want to make the experience fun, and I want to give the students reasons to come back and, learn some more. So that's very important to me in terms of how I teach them. And it's also important to me as a student myself to be taught in a similar fashion as well. So personalized lessons do take a lot of effort and work behind the scene, but it's really worth it, in my honest opinion. So I'm really hoping that I get more opportunities to do that with students in the future, and also maybe teachers could try this approach more. Then again, I feel like I haven't been in the teaching scene in a while. So I've been going solo at this for a while. Okay. So next page, we have language experiences. So in terms of language, I have officially learned 5. Let's see, Miran says, a language journey is a journey that never ends. Yes, I agree. So language journeys, once you commit yourself to become a language student, you're a language student for life. That's how I feel when I learned all 5 of my languages. So I feel like I'm totally out of practice with majority of them, and I would love to come back. It's just I just don't have the time, or I didn't have the time for the past 5 years. So I feel really sad that I'm very lacking when it comes to finding the right words when I'm speaking in a different language. And it takes some time. Like, it takes a long time for me to remember how to translate words into that language. So my processing is very slow at the moment. So if I come back to learning these 5 languages, I feel like my ability to process the words and say them will come back eventually. So at the moment, yes, so we're gonna go with the 5 languages that I learned. My first language is Tagalog, which is the national language in the Philippines. Then I mentioned before that I was a former ESL student, so English became my second language. But English is now my dominant language. So I have to emphasize the word dominant because it means that this is the language that you feel the most comfortable in expressing yourself and in communication. So unfortunately, Tagalog has taken a back seat for me, but English has become my dominant language. I feel like I'm able to express myself really well in English, more than Tagalog, and unfortunately my Tagalog's grammar is not the best in speech and writing. So there's that. The next language I learned was Spanish, and I took Spanish for 4 years when I was in middle school up to high school. And the reason why I committed to taking 4 years of Spanish is because my school promised me that if I learned Spanish or French for 4 years, I would be awarded the seal of biliteracy. And during middle school, it was quite new. I would say they were still quite new with language learning at the time. They used to be so proactive of, oh, don't talk in another language but English, because if you learn another language, you'll get confused. So they had a very homogenous view of the English language, and they strongly discouraged students, especially 1.5 generation students like myself and my sister, from remembering or retaining our language. So it's still quite unclear when, okay, so I'm gonna go off tangent a little bit, but it's a little bit unclear in terms of children, what's it called? I think it's child language development. Is it child language development? I can't remember. But something about children, they can make a decision whether they can retain they can retain the language that they grew up in, or they can reject it. Oh, so Miran says, can you mix all the languages you learn? I can't even handle 3 languages. The brain mixes all the languages I learn, creating another language, just a joke. Yes, it happens to me actually. So it's just like you said, Miran, because I remember you learned, you know Japanese, you know Korean, and you know English. I have the same moment. So when I want to speak, for example, Bahasa Indonesian, I end up speaking in Spanish. And if I want to speak in French, I speak in Spanish. And when I speak in Spanish, it's Tagalog or Bahasa Indonesian. So it's just like, it's just a hodgepodge of like, it's a mess. It's a hot pot mess of like trying to retain all of these languages that I learned while growing up. So it's really hard for me to retain what I learned in my current position, but I'm hoping to go back and relearn them. So just to refresh my memory, the first 2 that I do want to return to are French and Tagalog, because after I graduate, my goal is to celebrate my graduation by going to France. So that's why I'm very motivated to relearn French. The only thing that frustrates me about the French language is the R sound that they have. It's a very throaty R. So it's like, it sounds like you're pronouncing H, but it's coming from the throat, like you're gargling. So it's like, huh. I'm overdoing it. I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly like the French, but it's somewhere there. So it's just like it's like, what did I say? Guttural? I can't say it. Glottis? No, I don't know if it's glottis. But it is somewhere, it's very throaty R. So like when you say the word red in French, I'm gonna say it with the American accent. You say rouge. That's the American pronunciation. But in French, it's rouge. That's the pronunciation there. Miran says, what do you think about ChatGPT? It is on fire lately. Some people say it would be effective to improve writing skill with it. ChatGPT? I actually have not heard of that. What is that, Miran? ChatGPT. What does the GPT stand for? Also, take your time writing. I will come back to you on that. I think if there's any opportunity where you could practice the language that you learned, it's good practice. It's good investment. And it's also valuable to work with people who can give feedback. So Miran said, it's a question-based search platform running by AI. Wow, okay. I like that. So it's like an interview in a way. Okay. So I would say yes. It's a great practice to do ChatGPT if it's a question-based search platform, especially if it's an AI giving you questions. But I think my big concern when it comes down to it is, do you get some sort of feedback that will help you improve your writing? So for example, what I mean is when you use Google Chrome, for example, not Google Chrome, Google Docs or Word, you typically receive some sort of highlight that indicates that a grammar is off or the spelling is off. Do they give you that kind of feedback? Because if they do, they might be onto something. If not, then it would be a bit difficult to receive feedback. Not unless you're just doing it out of practice, then it's fine the way it is. So that's my 2 cents on that. But that's really cool. I never heard of the ChatGPT, so thank you for introducing that to me. maybe I will incorporate that into my live stream. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So if I ask them to write a script and the AI writes something for me. Oh, I see. That's what you mean. Okay. So I misunderstood your question. So when it comes to ChatGPT, basically the AI becomes a ghostwriter, right? So ghostwriting is when someone else does the writing for you. You just choose a topic, you choose what to say, and then someone else writes it for you. I think that it would only be good for familiarizing with writing style in English, for example, and I think it is good for reading and also familiarizing on how to improve as a writer. But I would not use GPT as oh, this is my homework, AI, use it, blah blah blah, write for me. If you go into that approach, that's where the purpose becomes defeated. So, and it becomes not only does it defeat the purpose, but it also brings the student to become more reliant on the machine rather than depending on themselves, right? So there is a pro and there's a con in it. But it ultimately comes down to how the student wants to use the GPT. Yeah, but for reading purposes, again, so just to summarize, if you were to use the ChatGPT and the AI writes something on your behalf, it's good to see or to use the ChatGPT to have experience in writing and recognizing writing style so that you can adopt it yourself. But if you were to use ChatGPT to write something on your behalf and you don't do anything with the writing, then it backfires on the learner and they become dependent on the ChatGPT. And as a result of that, you can't you will have a difficult time finding autonomy like as in like having the confidence to write for yourself. So yeah. So it really just comes down to the motive and the purpose as to why you use a ChatGPT. But for reading and writing and learning from it, then I would say, yeah, it's a good advantage. There you go, Miran. Thank you for sharing that. That's so interesting. Maybe I'll do something with that. I will write it down somewhere. Wait, where's my notes? I'm just like trying to figure out where I put everything. Here are my notes. We could also write that down for the Discord server in a second. But first, thank you for the idea. So let me write it down very quickly. Just any notes will do. Chat GPT. I will remember this. Thank you. Okay. So, next. Back to my list here. So again, I've learned 5 languages, all of which I suffer a lot because I haven't practiced it in a long time. But I have all of the materials. I still have all of my Spanish notes from middle school and high school. So all I have to do is just review everything I wrote and then rewrite everything and also use my textbooks and papers. And then if I do that, then I'll remember. French, I also have my books and my papers for it. So I'm an elementary learner for French. And I'm hoping to retake the class this semester, even though it's quite late right now. It's already been way past, we're at the midterms already. And I'm adding to the French class during midterms, which is hilarious. But I think that'd be cool. Just to see how fast I can just remember everything. I don't know if I'll be taking the midterm. Maybe I will. But yeah, this is gonna be crazy. Let's see if I can add into the class next week or something. But anyways, moving on. Bahasa Indonesian, I learned this from friends and my former partner. So I would say I have a friend who I still ask questions about Bahasa Indonesian. And what's so interesting about my experience with the Bahasa Indonesian language is that it's a trigger language for me. So what I mean by trigger is that the moment I am in a situation where I am immersed in the language, so let's say I go back to Indonesia, right? And I remember the trigger for me to remember everything I learned in Bahasa Indonesian, despite the 1 year or like, I think it was maybe 6 months apart. The time when I left Indonesia and the time I came back, I think it has been like 6 months. And, no. It was a year. Yeah, there was a year gap from the time I came back from Indonesia. So I came back home in 2018, then I went back in 2019. And I forgot Bahasa Indonesia when I landed in Indonesia at the time. And then I was trying so hard to remember everything I learned. Like, how do I say, where do I go here? How do I go upstairs? Is it downstairs? Etc. Like, I knew the words because I used them when I first arrived. But the second time I came back, I just couldn't remember it. And it was frustrating. And then I remember, like, the moment someone bumped into me, that was the moment everything came back. Like, I still remember it, even as I think about it. It's so vivid in my thoughts. And I can say it right away right now, too. So the word to say excuse me in Indonesian is permisi. So the moment I said permisi, everything I learned about Indonesian just came back in that moment. And I was in Indonesia for at least 1 week, I think. And that's when everything flooded back. And it's so interesting that it only took someone to bump into me to remember everything. So yeah, triggers are awesome, I would say, in terms of language. Triggers for mental health is not good, but triggers for language learning is awesome. Next is I am planning to learn Korean and Japanese. Well, not planning. I am in the motions of learning them. I learned Korean for a short time from my lovely friend Miran. I haven't had the opportunity to learn because life just got so busy, and unfortunately I had to put that in the back burner. Japanese has been very passive for me. I've been watching lots of anime. I've been watching I guess like some Japanese shows or some YouTube videos about a Japanese a Japanese vlog of a day in a life, I believe. And I try not to read the closed captions. So I try to go based on what words and expressions I'm familiar with and what can I associate them in English. And it has been working for me because a lot of the times when I hear a certain word and I see the subtitle, I notice that the subtitle doesn't give it enough justice, right? So we'll talk more about inaccuracies with subtitling and also loss of translation, which is the big topic on that. So it's really interesting how subtitles and the way people translate expressions, when you've come to recognize what these words actually mean based on shows and different situations, it's just really cool just to see how much I've grown passively when it comes to Japanese. And then finally, the last language I want to learn is, well, not last, it's probably the last at the considering that this is a language I'm thinking of right now. In the future, I might learn more, but the language I want to learn after Korean and Japanese is Italian. So it would be really cool if I learned Italian. Excuse me. Okay, so now moving on. We have linguistic expertise. So for the linguistic expertise section, I am a language acquisition expert, I guess I would say. So language acquisition pedagogies basically is a fancy word of saying what are different ways that someone can learn a language or acquire a language. So this is my field of expertise. It's just knowing what methods work, what can apply, what is the response of students, etc. Every time that I work with my students, I have the opportunity to do a lot of trial and error and experiment on what works for them, what doesn't work for them, etc. So there's that. And then I found out recently that I am a syntactician, right? So in linguistics, we have, I believe, three features in a language. So this applies for every language, by the way. So every language has a I believe it's a lexicon. right? No, we could break that down even further. We have morphology. Morphology is basically the ability to put words together in every language. So, like, for example, in English, we have a lot of Latin words that we borrow, and that's what makes morphology. Syntax is grammar. And, okay, actually there's 4. And so there's morphology, there's syntax, there's phonology. Phonology is the study of sound, so the pronunciation of a language. And finally, there's semantics. The semantics is the meaning of the language. Like, for example, semantics is when it's when you put certain words together. That's what creates the meaning. So it shows that there's some sort of like motive in the way that you express things. So that's basically what semantics is. I believe there's also one more. I don't know if it's under the same category because I have not explored this part of linguistics yet. Pragmatics. Don't quote me on this one. On this one in particular. I believe pragmatics is when you have that awareness, I believe. Like, for example, if someone were to stand next to you and you left the window open and they said, oh, it's chilly in here. They didn't tell you to close the window, but you knew automatically to close the window. So there was no sense of communication to verbalize that you needed to close the window, but it was just kind of implied, right? So pragmatics, I believe, is that where you kind of just understand based on context or whatever is happening at the moment. Okay. So back to this, I would say after completing my exit exam for my linguistic program, it turns out I have a very high score when it came to syntax, which surprises me. So I have a very strong understanding of syntax, even though this course was actually one of the most difficult that I've taken in my university classes, but I'm surprised that I did pretty well in it. Morphosyntax is just a combination of morphology and syntax. So again, anything with words and putting them together, it's my field of expertise, or that's something I personally really enjoy doing. Semantics, I would say my interest comes from from writing stories. I just have a way of putting words together, and I have some experience with that. So I feel like semantics is something that I should definitely spend more time to understand before I can teach it properly. But I feel like based on the definition that they gave for semantics, I feel like it's my field. And then finally, there's phonology. So phonology is the study of sound and pronunciation. So of these, I think the most common that I teach in are grammar, syntax, and phonology, which is speaking. Okay. Next, hobbies. So for my hobbies, I like to sing. Recently, I've become a social dancer. I try my best to attend social dancing events once a week because it's double dipping as my gym. Who knew that doing like social dancing such as Lindy Hop could result in a lot of it's a good workout session. So I'm hooked on it. So that's why it's just a really new hobby that I'm taking on fairly recently. Next, of course, you guys know that I learn languages. I also write fanfiction, which was my creative outlet when I was younger. So I've come back full circle to write fanfictions again at this time and age. I play video games when I have the chance to, especially if I just feel bored, then I just start playing games. But recently I haven't played a video game in quite a while. I think I've entered my creative arc. So I've been focusing more on singing, dancing, and fanfiction for the most part. And then finally, there's also binge watching anime. I have to emphasize why I wrote binge watch. It's because I have no sense of patience when it comes to watching series that take a long time to post or to update. And when I say that, I'm talking about Spy X Family. I've binge watched everything so far, and I'm addicted to Spy X Family. It's like my biggest obsession. I don't know if you guys can see, but Anya's on here too. She says waku waku on there. But yeah, watching anime where the series is not over is very painful for me. So I typically wait until the series or the season is done, then I just binge watch everything. In the case of Spy X Family, I did not binge watch. I remember I think I started watching it when the second or third episode just came out, and I was just like crying. I was like, oh, I cannot wait. Like, why can't they make more? And I'm still in that mood right now because I heard season 2, I think it might be a movie that's coming out for the next installment of Spy X Family, and I am suffering internally. Alright, so now, moving on. Thank you guys for being patient. When it came to my introductions, we went off tangent a little bit here and there, but I'm just happy that you guys are willing to stay and enjoy the ride with me. So in our next page here, we're going to be talking about the stream expectations. So, as you know, the atmosphere I like to provide in my streams include lo-fi music. So the reason why I play lo-fi music is because there has been a study that has proven that listening to music is what calms the anxiety. And of course, when you are learning a new language, it can feel very intimidating and it can also feel very scary. So we do have a word for it called FLA, which stands for foreign language not foreign language acquisition. That's a different one. FLA, foreign language anxiety. So foreign language anxiety is very common. It happens to everyone, and I mean including myself too. When you learn another language and you're afraid to communicate in that language because you're afraid that you might be judged, you might feel ashamed, embarrassed, etc. Those are all features of foreign language anxiety. So from what and also from my personal experience, I've introduced lo-fi music in my live streams in the previous job. I've played lo-fi music when I was teaching in person in the classroom, and I've noticed that playing music does have amazing powers in helping students who are especially shy and very scared and don't want to talk. They end up talking a lot in my class. So there's something magical about playing lo-fi music during my streams. So I intend to keep it playing in the background because I feel like when you hear music, it kind of subconsciously puts you in a place where you feel relaxed. And of course, since this is called the Homebody Cafe, cafes typically have relaxing music, right? So I hope to make that connection with my live stream, playing lo-fi music, etc., that it will help encourage language learners to continue learning English. Okay. So, and then the final bit here. Oh, sorry, I skipped the second one. The next bit here is the informal English. So, thankfully, this is one of the advantages of leaving other platforms where I was teaching. We are, for teachers, some of us are required not to behave a certain way, right? So it's professionalism, which I understand. But because I teach adult learners, I feel like if I'm not authentic as an English teacher, and as basically I'm the guide for introducing the English language, if I'm not authentic in my speech, I feel like the students are missing out on something, right? This is my personal view. I feel like the teacher is also part of the language learning experience. So I feel like, especially if the teacher is working with adults, right? I'm gonna emphasize that again. Adults, university students. I feel like it should be okay to behave more authentic, like to act like themselves. So when I say that, that means there will be moments where I will probably say words where it might be the F-bomb, it might be cursing, etc. But that is basically authentic English, though. Because in modern day English, a lot of people incorporate these profanities as emphasizers. So I believe they're called profanity. I can't remember the right words. Man, I'm so sleep deprived right now. Profanity emphasizers. I know there's probably a better name for them, but that's the best I can think of right now. But yes, if you watch, I mean in general, if you watch TV in Western films, they use a lot of profanity, whether it is for cursing, whether it is to challenge someone, or for emphasis purposes. In most cases, American English use cursing for emphasis. We always use the word for emphasizing some sort of maybe an emotion, or emphasizing or bringing up tension and intensity to whatever we're talking about. So that's basically how it's being used. And I feel like that is authentic English. And in most cases where I was teaching, I was not allowed to use those words. I was not even allowed to teach them these expressions, even though it is part of the everyday life. So I understand for one point it is for professionalism, but I feel like it really just takes out the authentic experience by filtering ourselves. So yeah, that being said, do not be surprised if I accidentally dropped a profanity here and there. Hopefully it won't be as common, but again, if it happens, it happens. The next point for the atmosphere is to eat food, bring beverage. I plan to eventually have myself in a call in Discord where students can, or not, why am I saying students? Homebodies. That's what the word I want to use. This is where other homebodies can actually interact with me. While I'm live streaming, we can actually interact while I'm streaming at the same time. So I think it would be really cool to introduce that factor into Twitch. So yeah, you will see me eat food, you will see me drink beverages. I have my water bottle here, so there will be times you'll actually see me drinking tea, maybe eating ice cream, etc. I do not care if you choose to do that. Then, and please don't care. I hope you don't care that I do that. Because that's why I'm trying to emphasize the idea of it being a homebody cafe. So just be very comfy. My rules in my channel, both in Discord and also in Twitch, is that I would like you guys to be courteous, respectful, and open-minded. This is because I do want to keep the Homebody Cafe a very safe place for people to express themselves, to be themselves, and also, most importantly, to promote their confidence in speaking English, and also make new friends. However, since we are working with a lot of students who are from different parts of the world, it is normal to feel confused by certain things. It's normal to maybe disagree with what other people see, but in terms of culture, but you have to be aware that because it is a cultural difference, be very mindful of how you say things and be very polite and open-minded for it. Next, no bullying, cursing, witch hunt, etc. So again, it's just coming down to being respectful and kind to people here, especially in Discord as well. The expression witch hunt means just basically to attack someone, trying to get everyone to gang up on a person. You know, that's witch hunt, I believe. And I don't think that's good, so please don't do that. And finally, no spamming or self-promotion without permission. I'm more than happy to give you guys a shout out if you ask me. It also depends on the situation too. If I feel like it's appropriate, or if I feel like it, then yeah, I will give you a shout out and help you get some promotion, but don't do that without permission, please. Okay. Moving on. So stream activities. So like what I'm doing right now, since I'm hosting a stream on Twitch, I will be providing a number of activities. So for example, for interactions, Discord forums. We will be looking at my Discord in a few minutes or so. I will possibly give you guys a tour of the event. And did I say tour of the event? I'll give you a tour of what it looks like. So I will be very mindful of what I'm sharing. But yes, my plan and hope is that I can use the Discord forums to interact with homebodies. and I am able to get an idea of what they're looking for, and maybe I could be able to teach it through my live streams. So I will be quite active in terms of the Discord forums, and I will try my best to be engaging and also introduce that to my live stream. Okay, so Twitch chat. So of course we have our Twitch chat where I was talking to Miran, who probably had to go because she was able to come here only for her break. But yes, I will read your chats and answer any questions if you have any anything to say or ask of me, or ask for me. Then, other than that, I think the next one on my list is called karaoke, or I dubbed it as Simp Hour. So SIMP is actually an acronym. So acronym means that you made a word that has actual words that make a significance and you put it together. So for example, SIMP stands for singing is my passion. So this was a term that I coined with friends in the past, and I really, really, really like that expression. So I'm holding on to it. So Simp Hour is the best way to call karaoke because everyone simps over each other's voice. The way I use simp, if you guys don't know the expression, simp is it's slang for meaning that you really, really love the way that someone sings or talks, etc. So it is great to use this word as a double dipping, one as an acronym, and the second using it as a slang terminology. So Simp Hour is going to happen soon. I would love to celebrate my 100,000 followers that I had in my previous job. I just haven't had the opportunity to host an event, and unfortunately that previous job had taken away the live stream aspect, so I could not host singing at that time. So that's why I'm hoping that with some time and getting word around to my friends that I met there, that I can host a karaoke event for all of us. Okay, so next, another activity I typically like to introduce in my live streams are gamified learning. So we will play games that encourages you guys to practice your English. So there are some Jackbox games that allow students to practice expressing themselves, something silly, etc. I introduced Jackbox through my previous job, and a lot of students and teachers really enjoyed it when we all played together, and it was a really, really great time. So I hope to bring back Jackbox with Homebodies here as well. What the Dub is basically, we are writing a script. Basically it's like a fill in the blank for a film. And typically a lot of students wanted to fill in the script with whatever is really funny and makes sense with the context of the video that What the Dub provides. And a lot of students really enjoyed that too. So I don't think I've had the opportunity to use it online. Maybe I did, I just don't remember. Actually no, wait, I did. I remember. And it was interesting because when I first introduced What the Dub for my students in the previous job, humor seems to be an interesting problem for language learners, which is, how can I help you guys improve in humor? That's gonna be a challenge. Given that I don't see myself as someone who's funny, and I don't know if I'm more than capable to explain humor, so that's gonna be interesting. Trying to discover what ways I can help you guys improve on humor and also play What the Dub in that direction. Next, we will have lectures and grammar lessons. That's something I have yet to decide upon. What I mean by this is I usually use a book called English for Everyone. I really love that book, and a lot of my students in the past really vocalize that they're interested in getting that book or using that book, and it's very easy and straightforward. I just genuinely just like any other Zoom online classrooms, I'll just share my screen, I will show the book, etc., and then I will ask you guys to participate through the chat or maybe in a Discord call, etc., to answer the questions. Yeah. So that's what I think I will do with the lecture and grammar lessons. Another activity that I am thinking of introducing to my live stream is a podcast. So basically, this would take place in which a student, or I keep saying student, I'm sorry. Technically, you would be a student, but I would prefer to call you a homebody. This is where a homebody would join me probably in a private call or on a on-stage call, where we get to talk about questions. I interview the homebody about their interests, what they do, etc. Anything really. So it's just an opportunity to give the learner a spotlight and an opportunity to practice their English. So that's my approach with podcasts in the future. And then the next activity I would like to introduce is voice acting reading. I did some research and I found out that you can definitely share or use comics when you're live streaming on Twitch, and it should be fine, considering that what we say is part of making new content. So, and also if we were to use books, we would have to use books that are in a public forum. And if we can do it that way, then we have some content in terms of practicing not only reading, but having fun with acting too. So I think it would be really fun to practice voice acting. This is actually a new activity that I recently introduced to some friends in my private lessons, and they really enjoyed it. So yeah, let's definitely do that. Okay, so I've talked for a good hour and 19 minutes. I definitely need a water break. I would like to take the chance, if you guys are interested to if you're interested to participate in this activity. I have something called topic suggestions. So you're welcome to type in the chat right now, or let me go ahead and pull up the Discord and show it to you. If you join the Discord community here, there's a section here called Suggest a Topic, and I posted these ones in the past couple days. I actually stayed up all night. That's probably why I'm just like really tired and having a hard time to have a conversation with you guys, and I'm probably slurring a lot right now. It's because I'm just so tired. I stayed up the whole night just trying to set up everything here. So if you want to create your own post as well, I recommend this is where you can suggest a topic, hence this topic suggestion section here. You're more than welcome to just post it there, and I can definitely look into how I could use it into the live stream or incorporate it. There's also something I wanted to show here. I tried this a long time ago in a different online or live streaming platform, and my students really like this too. So basically, my students submitted topics that they were interested in improving in English. So for example, like, oh, let's have a phone call. What kind of conversation can go in there? Or they gave a lot of role play examples. And I would write all of them down, and they're actually all in here still, all of those questions. They're still inside these little pill bottles. And basically, these pill bottles have a note inside. I also have one that's just a note here, if you can see it. Don't know if you can show. Yeah. So I can write down whatever prompt or suggestions you want, and then I will put it in this lovely empty jar. And I have yet to decide if I will use this as just like, oh, a topic that we can do on the spot during the live stream, or I can just have it and I'll think about if I should use it as like, oh, we can do this next time or for a next stream, because I have to plan beforehand. So it really just all depends on the situation. If I have the time, the resources, etc., then yeah. I thought it would be really nice to bring this back, since I genuinely invested in buying this just to use it in the live streams. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I recommend just, again, you can post your suggestions or topics in the chat or in the Discord room, and I will definitely check them out. So with that being said, let me just grab a water break for now. So, I see that there's only like 4 viewers here, and again, welcome and thank you for giving me some of your time and just watching this live stream. You're welcome to write in the chat if I will read it out loud if I see that you post something, but if not, that's okay too. I really don't mind. Let me go ahead and get you guys the invite link. Speaking of which, where is it? If you would like to join the Discord server, let me go ahead and paste it in the chat. Why did it? There you go. Oh dear, I don't know why I just did that. 1 second. So I just posted the Discord invite in the chat, so if you're interested in joining, you can just post it right there. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next couple slides here. So I'm assuming we might not have a Q&A today. I know some of you guys might be busy, but you're making time for me, so I appreciate your time. But if you do have any Q&A comments or suggestions, you can go ahead and post that in the Discord server. And I think that's the last thing I'm gonna do for today before I end today's stream. So I'm just gonna give a very quick tour of Discord. And I will show you where you can post your questions, your comments and suggestions there too. Just in case I don't get the time to read your question when I end my stream today. So we're gonna go ahead. Let's see. Alright, so the last part here is the Discord. And again, I apologize if you guys just came in here. I'm having issues with Canva right now, so it's not letting me present properly. I've been having a lot of errors in sharing my screen or making the screen bigger, so that's why I'm just zoomed up like this. So let me go ahead and introduce you to the Discord server here. Okay, so we are looking at the Homebody Cafe Discord. So once you join in, you will have a pop-up that tells you the instructions of what to do here. And then of course, I encourage you guys to go through the English background here. This is where you react and let me and everyone know what level you are. So that's why I use all of these chicken references. Recently, I removed the preschool one because I don't know why a preschooler would be here. So you can click on it, but it won't give you the role anymore. But there's that. And then here, I wrote down a reaction to tell us which level you are. So once you have your level, it'll tell you, it'll tell me and everyone else, okay, you are from, for example, you're a high schooler and you are an intermediate level learner. Okay, cool. So that kind of gives you an idea of where you can improve from there. Especially in the near future, I'm planning to have like private lessons. It helps me know what level you are and how I can work with you. And of course, knowing your level could also help your other fellow homebodies help sorry, I cannot talk. I'm just so tired. Also knowing your background in terms of your school and also your English level will introduce you to people who could be of higher level or lower level, and they could introduce you to different English skills, etc. And you're just there basically to make new connections from there. So if you ever have questions about what's going on about the Homebody Cafe server, I've posted an information here, so it just tells you what you're looking for. So if you have any questions that I have not written here, you can just write them under this just a topic or discussion forums. So you can create a new topic, or you can just answer or post a question under one of the categories. Although I strongly encourage you guys to please respond to them appropriately. Susie says, so can this live streaming be the English learning platform where I could see you here as planned? Yeah, definitely, Susie. So basically, if I were to host a live stream lesson, and let's say I'm doing some grammar, you can come here and then you could see me teach. Here is just more of my engagement with the homebodies. So if I see what everyone is saying or interacting, maybe it'll inspire an idea for the live streams. So yeah. So yes, my Twitch will be the live stream where you can learn English. And here is where you can engage in activities or conversations with me. So for example, the information here, I've posted questions like, oh, what is simp hour? And if you guys came in late and you didn't catch what simp was, I tell you what it is. And I listed where the simp hour would take place here in the entertainment section. So if you scroll down, you would join the simp hour, and there's already an open chat room here where you can chat while we're in a Discord call with everyone. And what's unique about the stage is that only the hosts and moderators can be the ones hosting the event. And then I've added like a simp queue. Basically, this is where people line up to join a queue list, and basically it tells me the order of who's gonna sing next. Watch Together is a link where we share that we all watch in the same room together, and basically whatever music is requested, everyone will watch it in real time and at the same time, so there's no lag issues. So if someone were to sing a song, they could sing in real time, and then for me, since I'm listening to a person sing from the other side of the world or wherever they are, there's no lag issues with them singing. Because typically whenever I play, let's say I share my screen and I play a song, the singer may lag maybe like a second or a couple seconds when they're singing. So this one just takes away the lag factor. So we'll talk about the simp ones in the future. Simp requests is basically where you just drop the link of the YouTube video, like the song that you want to sing, and then I just load it in the W2G. You'll see how it goes when the day happens, when we have the event. So I'll walk it through in the near future. But anyways, this is where you can get a lot of entertainment value. You can get memes here. I love this one. So the memes corner is basically you can post funny memes relating to English or any other languages. This one made me laugh. Roses are red, violets are blue. The love is in the air, but so is the flu. And then the rhyme is so good because blue and flu. And then the English teacher. I feel like it's a really good representation of how I would react to. So this is where you can post memes here. Okay. So the cafe room is where, let's say more people are online and they want to just have fun talking to people. They can come to the cafe room, and this is where they can engage and talk to anyone or hang out with friends. Internationals assemble. This is like, for the time being, this is where if you want to speak in your native language and talk to other people in your native language, this is the room to converse in. Because in most cases, I want to keep all of the discussions and other chat rooms English, just focus on English for the most part. After all, because I want to promote you guys to keep practicing your English language. But if you feel the need that you just want to talk in your native language, just come to the international assemble room. So you can talk in Spanish, French, Korean, Japanese, etc. On and on from there. So there's also one here where I wrote, let me see, can somebody translate? So this is basically a room where you want to find out how do you say a certain phrase. So this room is not meant to be like, oh, let's have a conversation. Conversation is here. Like in the native language, use this room. But if you're here to just ask, oh, how do you say this in English? So for example, I still remember how I said it in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice time in español, if I say that? So basically I said, oh, how do you say time in Spanish, right? But here you should be saying, oh, ¿cómo se dice trabajo en inglés? So here I said, how do you say el trabajo? Not el trabajo. How do you say trabajo in English? So trabajo means work or job, depending on the context that you're using it for. So that's how you would use this room in... Yeah, it's just kind of straightforward. So suggest a topic is basically where I asked you guys if you wanted to have a conversation or discussion topic. So what kind of conversations are you interested in talking about or learning more? You can just post. You can click on it here, then you can just type whatever you want to talk about down here. So if you have a conversation like, oh, let's talk about mental health, let's talk about love advice, etc., just post it here, and if I see some updates, I'll definitely incorporate it in future live streams. Next ones, we have film suggestions, so movies. I've noticed that a lot of Twitch streamers are watching films during their live stream, so I thought, okay, well, we can definitely do that and have a discussion afterwards. So this is where you can discuss films, and then I can make a new room and call it the film discussion room, where we would have a conversation on it. So yeah, as you can see, it's still fairly new. I posted this less than 24 hours ago, meaning that I didn't sleep last night while working on all of this. So you're welcome to add a new topic if I haven't mentioned anything, and if I need more tags, let me know. Because for now, I only listed speaking, writing, listening, and reading. There could be more, like roleplay, for example, etc. I could add more to it. Just let me know. And yeah, I think that's about it. Oh yeah, I forgot the resource center. So the resource center is basically, this is where you guys can exchange where you found your resources. So for example, the language fluency room, this is where you can share resources that promotes English fluency. So I had a video called How to Master a Language by... I can't remember his name. I am so sorry. I'm actually gonna open just to double check his name. Let's see. Name hasn't popped up. Oh yeah, what I've learned. So what I've learned is focusing on something called... What did he call it again? It was some sort of... I think it started with the letter R. I just can't remember what it's called. But I did join his Discord when it came to this language learning, because he was trying to show us that how to become immersive in the language. That was basically what it was. And it was very interesting, and I mean, after all, when you're learning a language, you want to have as much immersion, so you have more practice and more familiarity with the language as a whole. Okay. So I gave resources for that, and then this one was meant as a inspiration. So basically, Jacksepticeye surprises streamers that he can speak Korean quite fluently, and it's because he formerly dated a Korean girl. That's why he knows the language. Then there's a section here for vocabulary that you can share. You can exchange, oh, like, this is where I use my vocab, or this is the platform I use for helping me memorize vocabulary, etc. That's what it is. And then, of course, pronunciation. So this is where, when you teach, yeah. I decided to post little funny memes here just to make you guys laugh. So when your English teachers plans to explain how to pronounce the th sound. So here I shared about the American IPA chart. This is where you can interact with all of the American English phonetic sounds. So for example, since I'm clicking the link here, you can actually hear the sound. So they will say I think they'll say it in the normal speed, and then they'll stress the sound so you can hear each sound.
Pig.
Oh, so low. Let's see. Let me pause the music first.
Pig, 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 pig.
So you can hear the difference, right, in how they're saying it. There's pig and pig, pig, pig. So where he's saying pig, he's over exaggerating by getting the pronunciation in. But when you say pig, that's actually that's usually how it's supposed to sound like in everyday conversation. So that's why. Okay. Okie dokie. So yeah, I think that's everything here that I wanted to show you guys in today's stream. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and minimize that. You can just join the Discord from there and I will see you guys there. With that being said, I wanted to say thank you guys for your time. Thank you for staying with me for about an hour and 40 minutes. There were a lot of things that went wrong in this stream in terms of like the lo-fi hip-hop music started to get janky. The presentation wouldn't work, so I had to just accept it as it is. Unfortunately, I hope it'll fix itself next time, so we'll figure out what's going on here, and hopefully everything runs smoothly. With that being said, I will, for the time being, find activities and content to teach for next week, or teaching English. We're going to be starting from scratch, so we're starting over completely. And I guess with that being said, I just want to thank you guys for coming in. I hope to see you in the Discord community, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next live stream, which is in 2 days, Wednesday, 6 o'clock p.m. PST. I believe on Discord, or sorry, I believe on Twitch they tell you the time in your local time zone, so that should be it. And I believe that my Twitch stream doesn't, it'll only be just for 2 hours, I believe. So we have 2 hours together to learn English or have fun, etc. It just depends on what the schedule has for us. Okay, so yeah, with that being said, I do want to thank you guys for your time. I'm gonna go ahead and just knock out after this because my brain is not functioning anymore. I'm very sleepy. So thank you for coming in. Thank you, Susie, for coming in. Miran, thank you. My other 2 streamers, whoever you are, thank you for joining me. I'm gonna go ahead and just crash now. I'm just very tired. I'll see you in the Discord group, and I will see you on Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. PST. So, yeah. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. Bye!